morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. This is C.A. Newry and I am here with Aaron Green on this January 4th for a Man Down Mashup Wednesday. And of course, Ian Munnis is with us as we continue the conversation that we were having on the last show, right? We are joined together now to give a proper narrative of what should we be talking about regarding this FTX. Right now, we have a number of persons saying that our government, our authorities are not giving Bahamians enough information to understand, to absorb, to embrace, to explain what has happened with FTX. And of course, during the last show, we had tons of texts. And I'm going to start the show with that and have Aaron Green read those texts so we can respond to those. But my question to Aaron and to Ian is, there enough information circulating in the Bahamas at this present time? It seems as if the Securities Commission of the Bahamas is whatever information, press release they're giving out is after the fact. It's like last minute. And we in the Bahamas are starved for more FTX information. We want to know, where is the money? How much money is being frozen or secured by the Bahamian government? Which account is it being stored in? How is it being stored? Is it an interest-bearing account? How did they validate this money? Is this $3 billion in tokens, or is $3 billion in dollars? I could say that's dollars we have. How did we even validate that, right? So we're going to start off with that, but I want to get the texters in because they were complaining that we haven't read their things. So we'll start off with that, and then we'll let you go. Let's read at least with 6, 7, 8 of them. Go ahead, Aaron.
All right, first text. Aaron and CA. So it's only okay, and we love Biden when the UN, United Nations, bullies us into taking in migrants then. I don't think either Cecil or I expressed any particular love for Biden, or specifically love for Biden around migrant issues. I think we could say that clearly on the record.
That's conspiracy theory.
Right. Another text from same texter. Y'all sound like oxymorons. Last week, I thought you said we sound like oxen, you know.
Yeah, but I had the morons part, but go ahead.
Yeah. Last week is saying it's a corrupt nation. Now you're saying it's not. Just because it's brave doesn't mean he does all right. No one is perfect. Lots of insinuations and allegations coming from y'all too. Tiefin is Tiefin. And of course, as long as you are government, it's A-OK.
I will put on the record, I know for a fact that the Bahamas is not a corrupt state. We have checks and balances. We have a workable court. We have the Privy Council as the last appellate court inside the Bahamas. We have a working police force. We have rules and regulations and laws. So I, C.A. Newry, would never call the Bahamas a corrupt state. I maybe call America a corrupt state, but I wouldn't call the Bahamas that. Definitely not us.
I would say that the Bahamas is not any more corrupt than the accepted prevailing global political culture. Like, we ain't doing anything worse than is already accepted.
Europe, than France,
that is accepted as common political culture and common political practice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I would say.
I think that we judge ourselves too harshly for no reason. And that's part of
there's a reason.
That's a part of our inferiority complex stemming from slavery again.
Yeah, that and that's the reason. Another text. We need a PR for the Bahamas, PR firm for the Bahamas to protect our country. A lot of these foreign persons, press don't know about the Bahamas. They confuse us with being other countries, Jamaica, Haiti, etc. We need to respond to negativity on behalf of our country. We have been saying this.
And I disagree with the text. I understand the point that they're trying to make, right?
Yeah.
But we, the government, hide the best. They are aware of the Bahamas. We can't say the people who make their living analyzing countries and tell you more detail about our oceans or whatever it is, do not understand the Bahamas. So that's flippant. That's flippant.
I can tell you
for their own personal agenda.
The Wall Street Journal, though, had an article, if not last week, the week before last, and it was obvious that the person who wrote it never touched road in the Bahamas. They ain't never been to the Bahamas. They ain't look at the Bahamas on Google Street Maps.
And that was an opinion of the Post.
And hold on, but what was interesting was that Twitter has a function where readers can add context to the story, and the whole world, practically the whole world, not just Bahamians, stepped up right away and said, hey, this article is off Wall Street Journal. You all ain't never been to the Bahamas, and it's evident, right?
And this is where continuing our point for the day, where behemoths need to be tooled with information in order to combat stories like that and say, hey, this is a corrected version
but
of what you're saying.
Let me stick a pin. We get back to the text. I think it's deeper than that. I think the fundamental mistake that the government made was not realizing the magnitude of this initiative of creating a digital assets center. I don't think the government understood that, but from before you started, you should have had an education campaign.
And hopefully we continue with that soon.
Because what you're trying to teach us, or what you expect us, the general public, to already know, we don't know. We could not have known. And you didn't give us enough time to know it. And we understand there are things that you can't necessarily talk about in the public because of the nature of what you're talking about.
Appreciate that.
If you had done the work beforehand, you would have had a local audience that's more receptive to what it is you're doing and how it is you need to negotiate and navigate and maneuver through this issue.
Well, the question would be, was it really for us, or was it for expats that were dwelling here in the Bahamas?
You're missing the point.
That's something you have to think about.
You're missing the point, Ian.
If the education was not, if the educational programs were not initiated before you initiated this particular platform, then you're saying to me that it had to be now directed to a platform that understands it and know how to do it.
Okay, here's what I'm saying, Ian. I'm not saying that the Bahamas government should have made sure that every citizen is educated on how to invest their money in crypto. What I'm saying is the Bahamas should have made sure that everybody understands what it takes to operate a crypto center. They understand what crypto is, not necessarily the rules to investing their money. We're not playing the game. The game is like I said, crypto exchanges are like a casino. In the Bahamas, we don't allow citizens to gamble in casinos. But citizens work to support the casino. They work in the casino. They work in the hotel where the casino guests stay. They drive the taxis that the casino guests use to move between the casino and the other hotel.
Well, then,
that's different from being in the casino.
Go ahead.
Well, then you're strengthening my point, because if we're going to use those behemoths and tools in the work capacity, but not generally owners of that particular industry or that particular business, then we're saying that the onset from that coming will basically not really geared for the Bahamian people itself.
And I hear your point, and I disagree. And we could be managers and still own at the same time. We can own the management aspect of it. But I don't want to talk about crypto. I want to talk about what should be the conversation we should be having on FTX, because we've been discussing about crypto for a while and what should have been done, what could have been done, what is going to be done, right? Is the DARE Act effective enough? Will it be expanded on? And we see that the central bank said they'll correct one or two things on it. But I know we have a number of texts on it. My point I want to make is I expect more information from Securities Commission of the Bahamas. All right? And I understand and I appreciate the point you said, Aaron, when you said that a number of the issues, because of inside jurisprudence in the courts right now, cannot be discussed.
Right, but not just that, because of the hostile nature of the other parties involved.
Yeah.
Right? You have to be careful about how you put information into the public domain.
Agreed. But go ahead with the text.
Okay, another text. Good morning. You should be very careful how you point fingers at people that you depend on for everything unless you are self-sustainable. Sit small and listen up.
He talking about the United States. We shouldn't criticize the United States.
I mean,
that's what he told black people before. No, you all are black people, and you cannot criticize the white people who in charge.
Are you happy living on a plantation?
Yeah. You ain't gonna challenge nothing. I say, the United States love challenges. That's
because I tell you what, people get these ain't plantation paychecks, is what I saying. That's all. The PM, we got a lot of text here. The former PM did intentionally give the world the perception that this was a very corrupt place. And he was the new sheriff in town who would clean it up. I remember specifically him referencing the millions of dollars our country lost to corruption.
Yes, and we did lose the millions of dollars in corruption.
He told the world that. I ain't saying I disagree with him. I believe we have no clue the level of productivity and dollars we lose to sweethearting and unqualified friends.
That's not here and there. See,
my
thing is, we need to take it up what it is. We have issues where we were losing money, and the Prime Minister's intent was to correct and regulate the issues where we have.
But I don't
right?
think that
I
platform
don't think-
should have been used
And
then
see,
at that time.
That's it. And
Yeah.
when we start off with
Yeah,
that,
I don't think
perhaps
that's
the
the time,
platform,
wrong place.
but not saying that he called the Bahamas as a corrupt place and that this is the end all and that we are corruption. He said that he's here to regulate and correct what we have issues in. That was the intent. Maybe it didn't come out that. So we need to take it as the intent and run with the intent. We have a number of places, a number of issues that we need to correct. That doesn't mean that we are completely corrupt or that we should be labeled as corrupt. It just means that we have work to be done and all hands need to be on deck.
I like that.
You can't be going home for an 8-hour shift at 6, when you do 6 hours and think that you should get a full pay. That's corruption. We need to correct that. But that doesn't mean that the Bahamas is corrupt when you see one or two people going home early, right? Or using the government car to pick up people for school runs, which again is what the former prime minister was indicating.
You got a spark on the Aaron just now.
No, man, don't mind me. Don't mind me. I'm behaving myself. Another text.
I'm sure one of your family member had a government car back in the day and picked you up from a private school. But I digress. Let's move from that.
Oh, you're talking about that? Yeah. Good morning, Aaron. That previous caller needs to understand the difference between facts and hyperthesis.
Look at that.
He believes, based on his admission, that foreign messaging and fake news is gospel. That is dangerous. Now, I think C. Allen sort of came in and cleared that up and said it's not that, it's that in the absence of, nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't put anything out there, people will be drawn to what is available.
And this is my concern regarding the Securities Commission. We are starved for more information. Right? We are searching. You see behemoths are scouring the social media and the news outlets, and then they put it out there and they reinterpret it or misinterpret this information. And that's the reason for that is because there isn't a Bahamian narrative. And now we hired a external organization to create a Bahamian narrative to make or correct the false narratives going out, when there should be a local narrative also for the Bahamian people to say this is what's happening. And there is a need for a understanding or appreciation of the Bahamian public regarding what is happening with FTX and the fallout and how it impacts the Bahamas in terms of our checks and balances, in terms of our courts. So that's what I'm talking about.
Listen, whoever, it's a message to the public, whoever is responsible for Fred Mitchell, the Honorable Fred Mitchell, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Public Service, and the chairman of the PLP party, whoever is responsible for his daily and weekly voice note program, that's who we need to put in charge.
To disseminate the information?
Right, see, because we understand what it means to need to disseminate information regularly and with clarity. We get that. Whoever in charge of Fred Mitchell Voice Note Program need to be in charge of this public education campaign.
And I'll go one step further regarding Mr. Mitchell's response, because his response was concise, where Bahamian people appreciate it. So, I didn't understand that, right? Mm-hmm. But it was one voice in the wilderness, and we should have constant information. Mind you, he did a good job. A lot of things was answered automatically, but it was a voice note. Mm-hmm. And he went on a tour, he went on a Shanique's thing the other day and he got interviewed. But that should have been a national narrative where the Bahamian people say, okay, we understand where we stand and we're going to move and build on that. That is not happening as yet. And I say we need to prod the government and demand as the people, this is what we need and this is what we demand of. And hopefully they listen. So
the headline shouldn't just be local; it should be international. So they
we hire a firm for the international part. It's a local part that we have a concern with. And see, imagine that we have Bahamians who have bought into the negative, sinister spin of the international persons, right? Because there's no local narrative. So now we see them repeating it, say, we got to be corrupt because the white people said it. The Americans who are the gods say that we are, so therefore we must be corrupt. And see, that's what they said, and we cited as.
But you had one or two delusional persons with spreading and spewing the narrative as well.
You'd be surprised the extent, the number of people who believe that.
Yes.
Who believe that we're all corrupt. The whole thing is corrupt. Who believe that if you support a particular party, then you corrupt.
Yes.
Right? If you support the other party, then you must be corrupt too. Mm-hmm. Right? This is not a far-off thought. And I think what Cecil has been saying repeatedly is you can have a belief that there are corrupt elements in your country. You could have a belief there are corrupt systems or corrupt people in your country. But you can't just take that belief and apply it to the FTX situation. It requires more discernment. It requires more critical thinking. That's unreasonable to just say, because one boy refused to process my driver's license until I gave him $20, means that
The whole system
the
corrupt.
whole system is corrupt. And obviously, John Ray and this whole
Is correct.
narrative is correct.
Something wrong
But
with
the
that.
thing is, the narrative doesn't just stick there, because then the narrative will be when they spew this narrative to other persons externally, then these people are grabbing that and saying, well, if he could say it, then I guess it's true.
The Bahamian people believe they're corrupt. But let's go back to the text.
All right. I don't know what happened to C. Alan Johnson's political party. That's neither here nor there, texter. Great show as usual. Sam say y'all get what the... Another text. Great show as usual. Miss Green, I'm a businessman, and I'm telling all business people out there, Inland Revenue is not playing this lap. They want their corn. Not half a corn, the entire corn. They're kicking it in like the IRS Inland Revenue say this ain't no game. Now, I read that text because that's perhaps the best PR move. That's the best PR that Inland Revenue has ever gotten. Dear business owners, if you are renting your business space, please confer with your landlord right away to ensure that the taxes have been paid on that property. Don't get caught up in this lovely story in today's paper, in the Tribune. Business license peril if your landlord hasn't paid taxes. When you are applying for the renewal for your business license, if you don't have the little tax certificate to say that the property tax has been paid on the property that you're renting, you're not going to get your business license renewed.
Wow.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Take it on the rent. Just take it on the rent. I'll pay the business license for you. Hold on. Let's just take it on the rent.
I don't like that model.
Yeah.
I don't like that model.
You
A
want
great
one?
show as usual. If we listened to 50 Cent song, FTX would not have swung us. 50 say you can't get $1 out of me because I'm a... Listen, don't Bahamians have see, but we have a nursery, right? We have a song where we turn $1 into 50 cents, right?
But sometimes you miss. And you miss. And you miss like this.
Ah.
Yeah, you didn't get that hit.
No, because I went to a Christian nursery school, and we didn't sing that part of it. You miss. We thought that was something different.
He might have made the other one.
Yeah,
Brad
listen, we
Baird,
don't-
Edward Tish, Aunt Bonnie, and Mary Reid.
They were Bahamians. They all were Conky Joe people. Anyway, go ahead with
Big
that.
Bahamians could be Conky Joes too.
I know, but they're
You
foreign
so-
Conky Joe people. They were foreign Conky Joe people corrupting the local people them here. No. And then they won't blame us. What other text you have there, Aaron?
I got a text that says, yes, I think they're referring to you, Cecil. Yes, you are so right. We are not corrupt. We have many laws, rules, and regulations. No, we did not have 10 murders already for the new year.
No.
No. Anyway, this is a very facetious text. He's basically saying, we don't know what we're talking about. He says, we've had 10 murders already for the new year in 4 days, right? Illegal immigrants come in every day with taxi and homes waiting on them, living free and VAT money gone MIA.
But the VAT money isn't MIA. We know where the VAT money is.
It's in the consolidated
the consolidated fund. We know where it is. And see, this is where this general consensus that we corrupt is misguided, right? We because something is not working for us, we just throw everything over the bathwater.
Yeah.
And it's proven difficult, especially when you're dealing with sensible people, because technically that text didn't make no sense.
I mean, it was nice tongue in cheek, but it still speaks to what we're talking to. You can't apply this perception of corruption in the country to the FTX matter. You just cannot take it and lay it over it like a blanket. At the same time, Cecil, it is January the 4th, you know. And you know what I notice? I've not seen a story. We've had 2 days in the new year in newspapers, and I haven't seen a story on public disclosures. The deadline is December 31st, isn't it?
Yeah, but March is when we declare that they didn't disclose it yet. So they have time. So
No, they don't have time.
By March, we know.
No, they don't have time.
We have to
They've
assume.
already, if they have not submitted their disclosures by the deadline.
But they have
then
an extension.
No,
The extension is March.
no, but they're still late.
Yeah, but the extension
it's
is
not
still March.
fair to say that they're not late.
Mm-hmm.
They are late they have an extension until, right, at the end of March, the chairman is going to get up and apologize on their behalf and say that they didn't know what to do.
And perhaps we should preempt all of that in another show, because I know we're talking about FTX today.
I know what you're doing.
And no. My point is, I can give them time. I can wait till March. But you can't have the prime minister, you can't have the leader of opposition come to me in March and say they forget again, especially how we've been complaining about this year after year after year. They can't. So I expect 100% persons putting the taxes in time. So there's no excuses now.
Because time is December 31st.
Yeah. I expect. Watch. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Watch. All of them.
I was picking Wilches the other day.
Wilches again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wilches and Combs.
It was a pleasant thing that you did.
Yeah. Wilches and Combs.
Yeah.
I still feel like December 31st is an important date.
You
Good
don't-
morning. Speaking of corruption, has anyone confirmed whether the PLP has returned the money for the Bermuda trip to the public treasury?
We don't know yet, and I'll talk about that on a different show and see where that happens. But nothing wrong with bringing it up. We need to keep our government in account and push the issue and remind them that we ain't forget. We ain't forget that you owe us money. I just want to know how much money it is that they owe. No one has bring the accounts on the fact that, well, it's $500 or $1,000 and we still won't pay that $1,000.
The finance should have that information.
Well, they said they was waiting on it.
You mean the Ministry of Finance?
The one who paid the money in the first place, and they shouldn't see.
Yeah, the one that the Prime Minister's...
Definitely they don't have accounts
Head
for
off.
that.
Yeah.
Here's another text. I agree with C. Allen, and your convo proved it. Your shows are to be conduits to our education. Yet you don't allow people like C. Allen to talk and educate us with whatever time you were given. Dear texter, C. Allen cannot come on this show and give a 30-minute lecture.
No, it's impossible.
It just can't happen. You have...
And he has a platform that he can do what he needs to do. And he has the audience, and I say take advantage of that.
And I'm going to do it like the old people do it because I believe in you, C. Allen. Help your texter out. Do your courses, do your seminars, and then break them down into sound bites that can be played on the radio.
And
So
then we
that
have
you could
conversation about
send
that.
me the sound bites and we could do a whole show based on the information that you're giving out. But you can't come and expect to get 5 minutes of airtime for a heavy technical conversation.
That most people wouldn't get.
And technical being an operative word where, again, what Ian said, most people will not get in
Yeah.
that 5 minutes.
But ain't nobody dissing C. Allen. In fact, I keep showing C. Allen, take a step forward and help us.
If you're a specialist in a particular area, then show why you're a specialist. Like you said, offer some courses, bring the people forward, and then you start to educate them, and that's the way
Absolutely.
forward.
What else text we have there?
Are you trying to say that this is a black against white issue on that all Americans and white and all Bahamians are black? All due respect, that doesn't sound very intelligent.
So now, mind you, 90% of the Bahamas population is of Afroid descent. 90%,
Yeah.
right? And the 10% is made up of white, Asians, and Filipinos, whatever else it is,
Yeah.
right? In the United States, African Americans make up like 3-4%,
Yeah.
right? So when persons use that narrative and that flippant narrative of black and white, we know that the United States is an Anglo state in general. The majority of the population, the culture, the mainstream media is of Anglo descent, right? And everyone else is minority, and the minority is so small. And by contrast, it's the same thing with the Bahamas,
But
right?
see, so I think we are in the 9th year of the International Decade for People of African Descent. That's a UN initiative all across the globe, right? Communities, political bodies continue to acknowledge that African reparations are a legitimate conversation, that racial divide, the systems that enabled the Atlantic slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, still exists. Nobody is questioning the presence of racism in these discussions, in the conversation between the U.S. and the authorities and the Bahamian authorities, right? Nobody in the world is discounting that except those that deem to speak down to us.
Can you imagine? And mind you, like you said, this is a giving. It's a globally given. But there are people here, and mostly people of African descent, who would be quick to get defensive, right? When the world already conclude, yes, there is racial ties, racial history, critical race theory that should be applied to when you analyze these things. But for some reason, we get defensive very quickly regarding these things. But I see we have a caller here. Let me pass the caller through. Then we go back to the text again, and then we respond to these texts. Go ahead, caller. Producer, pass them through for me, please. Go ahead, caller. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Newry. Good morning, Miss Green.
Good morning.
Yeah, Miss Green, you say you're an anti-imperialist, anti-capitalist, right? But the thing is, right, since you're talking about slavery, a human story actually came to my mind. You know, you could imagine being 70, 80, right, 60-something, and slavery came to an end, and you're incapacitated because you were bending down so much in the field. That's just one human story, right? Much less to talk about the amount of blacks that run and left land, right, of value, and that were not given the concessions allocated by the Abraham Lincoln government. And so there are repercussions up to this day. So when I hear the fools talking about black people shouldn't be talking about reparations, right? It sickens me. Now, as relates to the FTX scenario, right? Mr. Newry, the $3.5 billion would be tangible money because they were exchanging tangible for intangible as far as coins and tokens. See, Alan said they use them interchangeably.
I love to engage with that. We know that they were engaging in tokens, but now they have a value to it to a business that all the tokens
as I understand
was devalued.
As I understand it, he had actually minted his own and was selling them. But these cannot be tangible money when we know the real situation is that this scenario has absorbed the money from the global economic system. And I like how you and Miss Green stated the fact that maybe they should start collecting money from the entities in America first to set an example, right? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but Miss Green, I like to comment on capitalism. But what I realized about capitalism, it creates schisms. So, Graham always is called and say people like to call, you should start calling it solutions. But Graham is correct. But the problem is with solutions, right? You have to be conscious and knowledgeable enough to recognize problems. Then you move on to solutions. So once the world don't see problems, then there's no solutions. Some people is even not in that paradigm. Something you said was so powerful. Most people who are mindless and myopic don't realize that you said growing food. You see the new paradigm coming out of the UK, where they're limiting the amount of petrol. They're going to juxtapose the vaccine to the global ID to your buying book. And then you saw the example of how a totalized, digitalized world could be used against the citizens as in the truckers' protest. So what I'm saying is, anything that kills people, capitalism does that. Imagine the phthalates and the bisphenol and all the chemicals in food. Capitalism motto is poison them now and don't tell them until they find out. That's what I'm trying to tell you then. So capitalism will end up enslaving us because it drives global policies. It enslaves people. When you see the new paradigm in Britain unfolds, let's not pray to God that but they're going to unravel it all around the world because most of us are mindless. I don't even know what's going on. The human race is so pathetic until it's scary.
Listen,
I don't even, it's screen. I'm telling you.
I got you 52, but let's
this is where we're headed. Down a dark, labyrinthic.
52, let's be easy on the people, right? Let's not call them pathetic.
I see my cousin
I am pathetic.
I'm pathetic
because
too.
I would be tyrannized by the group psychology or the mass ignorance of the people. So me one shouting in the east, someone shouting in the west. It's not going to work because most people can't see what's coming.
52.
They don't get it. They just don't get it until it's upon them. You said grow food. You know what I realize how important it is, Ms. Green? Because what they're saying is when you become deviant, they would not grant you access to your digital ID, and then you wouldn't be able to get your own money.
Yeah,
so what is this? You tell me what is this then? Where's the world headed? And we being duped by third world leaders who are still slavish on the plantation. Give thanks, man.
Blessed.
Blessed.
Okay. So, but I just want to make a correction that the black population in the United States is 13.6%.
Yeah.
I see I got a text on that to correct me. But my point is that the majority of the United States is made up by Anglo people, and the black population is a small, minute number, which is less than 15%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're shrinking even more because the Latinos are taking taking
they
next.
white, they say
Yeah,
black.
there you go.
Yeah. 52, I just need you to know that people are listening to you, man.
Yes, definitely people are listening to
Yeah,
52.
man. And people are listening,
You
they're
are a
learning.
voice in the wilderness that people are now recognizing and saying that way makes sense.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Don't give up. And don't call people pathetic because they are slaves of the very system that we're talking about, right?
I see another text here, another caller here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
of course, we have more texts I need you to read. But let's pass the caller through and then we go back to the text. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, you don't have to worry no more. The matter with the police, where the cabinet minister rolled over his foot, has been settled.
Look at that. You think I had anything to do with that by me pushing an accent? Just asking.
Maybe you push it so much, but it was a financial settlement, so you ain't gonna hear much of that coming to the media.
But just for entertainment, what was told? When was this said, and what was generally said? 'Cause I'm
Well,
not
I
sure.
passed a certain place in the Grove, and a situation was going on, and it was treating the fellas them, and was satisfied that everything was settled, and at the end of this month he'll be going to work.
Or there was
This hearsay then.
There's an internal meeting in a community setting.
All I'm saying is bad. The cabinet minister gave herself away. When you settle like that, you telling people, yeah, I did roll over your foot, but then you don't want to come
Settlement
out.
doesn't mean that.
Oh,
Settlement
boy,
doesn't
I
mean.
can
You're
tell you-
going a little farther. I gotta let you.
No, but let me say this. It did happen.
No.
Hey,
I can't let you. You can say that to me, but you can't say that on the radio. But I appreciate that.
It's still being investigated.
No, not until they conclude on it.
They haven't said anything.
Yeah,
yet.
but that's the commissioner.
You see anything in the paper?
I ain't sitting in the paper
You
yet.
get a voice note from Mr. Fred Mitchell?
I ain't get no voice note from Fred.
Yeah, well, we ain't certain that has happened.
Yeah, but I'll wait for the. I think I should inbox Mr. Mitchell and see if he can do a voice. Let me move. Let's go back to the text slag again.
All right.
What else you want to read?
Say 52
Say settlement.
is correct. We still on the plantation. Y'all still on the plantation, but some of us choose to stick our head in the sand and close our eyes. But Bahamians woke now because we tired of the plantation, so it's time to speak truth.
Okay.
Ah, boy.
I know it's rough off the plantation. Yeah, but
You ever been off the plantation, Cecil?
I am a student of history. I know what happens when you come off the plantation.
better be ready for
You
it.
better be ready for it.
Boy, look here.
They slaughter you in the
ready for
streets.
it.
They
Yeah.
slaughter you in the streets.
Today is Wednesday, January the 4th, and there is a talk at the Bahamas Historical Society this evening, I think at 6 p.m. And the talk is about the experiences of runaway slaves
Look at God.
in urban New Providence. So not on the family islands, not out in the bush.
You're talking about Gambia. You're talking about places of that nature.
Well, but no,
Adelaide Village.
Yeah, but I think in more in the very populated areas.
Well, when they went over the hill, I think it was somewhere over the hill that they used to. Well, it was a lot of bushes. They used to come over, steal the goods, and go back into the bush, robbing nuts.
Well, that's possible. But I know if you escape in Beans and Grandstown, they come looking for you
Yeah,
and put
yeah,
you back.
look
So
for
you
you.
had to go all the way to Adelaide and run and escape. But this should be an interesting topic. You said today at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, at Bahamas Historical Society, and that's on the corner of Elizabeth Avenue and Shirley Street.
So let's go back to the text. But again, what the concern that we're having today, the conversation that we're having today, is whether there needs to be more information given by the government. Remember, I said Government Securities Commission Bahamas, and also by extension the police force, to say where the investigation is at this present time. Did Bankman Fried commit a crime in the Bahamas? And if he did or did not commit a crime in the Bahamas, charges pending, right? We already shipped him off. So is that ship off means that ends it? There's no need for any more investigation to be done. Is the investigation continuing at this present time? What are we investigating? What information have they found out so far? Can we give general, broad stroke information to the public to say, hey, this was happening? You hear the information about these people asking for monies to be returned. Does that apply to the Bahamas? Can someone go on the record and say, hey, don't mind those American fellas asking for monies. That ain't enough, nothing to do with us. Because we in charge of this jurisdiction. We saying that the singing prophet, not saying that, it's just calling him. And all the government agencies like the police force, the Ministry of Education, who got the feed network, who got money from him, they have no worries at all. Because that's as American doing the American do. But we in the Bahamas, we know that y'all money straight because that was for charity. Can we have someone declare that instead of having this anxiety and say, boy, I don't know, I look like I might have to take out a loan?
My biggest question is, what's the risk that taxpayer money will be called on, will be used to repay debts?
Well,
incurred?
Definitely I would support as a Bahamian. If there is, if something found out that the singing prophet and Hanchel them would need to pay back the money that they were donated to them, I said we should move the money from the treasury and pay it back. I'm sure most Bahamians, most Bahamians will support that.
But specific to.
I don't think they'll fly with that. I don't think the Bahamians will fly with that.
No, you wouldn't pay back the singing bishop money.
He told them what happened. The money gone. He can't take it to the people's bellies.
Then they take the church.
No, they can't take the church.
They will
not touch the church.
You forget
they bulldoze the whole church.
You forget they
will not touch the church.
They bulldoze the whole church.
The point you made you made a valid point, CA, when you started to say that if he has charges still pending here in the Bahamas.
Yes.
The reality is that can the Bahamas extradite him back to the Bahamas? Of course not.
But just put the charges through. We don't need.
I'm saying even if the charges are there, because we have had
whenever he spent his 100 years
that wasn't finished.
But we have an agreement with the United States. We can extradite people.
Where we can extradite them?
Right here in the Bahamas.
The Barefoot Bandit gone. We didn't extradite him. He broke laws in the country.
We had an agreement with the United States.
It sounds like the agreement only worked on one side.
He served his time, what he would have served here in the Bahamas, in the United States.
It seems like the agreement only working on one side.
No, man. You just have a push. But go ahead, Aaron. Any more text there? I mean, we have scores of text there.
And text says, and also I work on Elizabeth Avenue downtown. I call it Zone 6 or Section 8. They actually having an event through there. Dear texters, you got to tell me whether you want me to read your text on air,
Oh, that's just for you, for your consumption?
No, because I mean, like, I could imagine. I mean, whoever owned the property on Elizabeth Avenue should be looking at fixing it up. That's another discussion, Cecil, right?
Okay, before this commercial break, I know we're going to commercial break here. Let's patch this caller through so we don't have them waiting. Go ahead, caller. We know we have a commercial break soon, so let's make your point and hear that.
Okay, yes, morning to you. Happy New Year to you and your panelists. If they're asking for the money that was donated to the charities, then they also have to go and get all of the commissions that were paid to the real estate agent who where he purchased the property. So they have to return all of those.
Thank you, caller.
No, we know that ain't gonna happen. So
you know that ain't gonna happen. So you can't because they didn't know that the money that he was using was so-called fraudulent money. So they got to go after all of these money. You know what I mean?
I agree. Ignorance to the law is not a defense. But anyway, let's go on this commercial break and we'll continue our conversation next. And this is Guiding Radio on the AM with C.A. Newry. And of course, we have Aaron Green with me from On the Clock. And of course, we have Ian Munnings with me. And we have a what is it again? Man down mashup.
Y'all just
Wednesday.
refuse to man down.
Yes.
I get it. Y'all just refuse to man down.
You're the secretary amongst us. You write these things down and we follow suit. But anyway, we'll be right back.
J.S. Johnson Insurance Agents are the best. Reliable service, we've been on the scene, protecting since 1919. J.S. Johnson Insurance has stood the test. You've always covered me. J.S. Johnson Insurance, peace of mind.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
The new Guardian Radio app is here. Listen live to all our Guardian Radio shows and live video stream select programs in our studio. Get information about Guardian Radio shows and our hosts. Send messages including text, email, and even call. All from our amazing new Guardian Radio app. Download it free today in your App Store for your Apple device or Play Store for your Android device. The all-new and improved Guardian Radio app.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And welcome back to Guardian Radio in the AM with C.A. Newry. And of course, I get Aaron Green with me. And of course, I get Ian Munnings with me. And we're having a conversation with FTX and questioning what should be the narrative, the current narrative happening nationally. And we are questioning whether there's enough information circulating in the Bahamas by the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, and whether our media is doing us justice in terms of gleaning information, asking questions about it. And we're being inundated by these foreign concepts, these foreign narratives who are doing spin against the Bahamas, right? And we say, man, these people lying on us. They're lying on us, and we know that the government has hired a foreign PR firm, lawyers, to basically explain our jurisdiction, to explain our laws, right? And we are saying that perhaps we need a local one here too, just to explain that. But we have a number of texts, and then Erin has some things that she wants to say. And of course, Ian chimes in Wednesday. But where we are with the text, we'll make sure that we get all the texts out as we deal with this FTX narrative and FTX questions regarding stuff. There's a lot of people who claim that in the future, in the immediate future, a number of Bahamian names will be called. I don't think no Bahamian name is going to be called because no Bahamian necessarily did anything wrong. We facilitated a international, renowned, prestigious man to come here and open a business.
If he's been charged, SPF has been charged. He's had 8 charges levied against him, right?
The man said he's not guilty.
Listen, the charges are conspiracy to commit wire fraud on customers.
Not guilty.
Wire fraud on customers. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud on lenders.
Not guilty.
Wire fraud on lenders. Conspiracy to commit commodities fraud.
Not guilty.
Conspiracy to commit securities fraud. Conspiracy to commit money laundering. And conspiracy to defraud the United States and violate campaign finance laws, right?
Yes. And he said he didn't do none of that.
Right? And so my question is, of all of those charges, the processes involved to do that, how many of those processes involve Bahamians? In what capacity were Bahamians employed in the local arm of FTX, and what were their responsibilities? So are we expecting Bahamian names to be called if no Bahamian worked in a capacity of transferring money, right?
Oh, and see, boy, look how you're going to set me up to get me in trouble, right? Because I need this Guardian gig. Don't laugh here, right? I hear you when you said that no Bahamians were involved in the operation of. I know, I understand.
Yeah.
And I was just going to spin. I was setting up the narrative in the daily operation of trading the crypto space. Let's say that, right?
Yeah.
And then I want to juxtapose that to the new cryptocurrency, OKX.
Yeah.
Where it has a Bahamian CEO and a Bahamian team of 100 who I assume have Bahamians directly involved in that crypto space and mining, whatever it is. And I just find it entertaining that one has Bahamians doing intimate work in mining of crypto space, and the other ones were doing more administrative type work, dealing with government, dealing with charities, and the like. And I find the contrast in that entertaining.
All right. Now, that particular company, they looking to employ over 100 people over the next 3 years.
They didn't get 100 people yet?
No, they didn't get 100 people yet. However, they have appointed Bahamian Dr. Gillian Bethel as their chief executive and have hired Bahamians to key positions in their local operations.
So they ain't mining no crypto yet?
We're not certain, but that's, you see, and these are the things that we want to know. These are the things that I think are relevant to the DARE Act and the potential enhancing of said act, right? Like, how do we make it stronger? And what are the limitations that we're going to put on Bahamians to not to limit Bahamians, but to protect our local financial services industry.
Sound like another administrative type job, but they give up money again. But anyway, that's just me saying that. Any more text? Go ahead, Ian.
What about enacting the Immovable Properties Act that should have been?
What does it have to do with crypto?
No, I'm saying
it has everything to do.
What you would have to do with crypto, Aaron? We talking crypto to the FTX.
Let me tell you something. You know what's worse than having to go to a hotel concierge to get a Junkanoo ticket?
Go ahead.
The idea that,
just as bad as
that I can't even afford to drive up on Albany Driveway.
All over the place.
I can't afford to hit the end of Frank Watson Boulevard.
We talking
but
FTX.
Foreigners are possibly going to receive title to properties in Albany that Bahamians. Let me tell you something. I've been to the U.S. I've been to the White House. I've been in a part of the White House that only 5% of Americans have been in the history of the White House.
Privileged.
Very privileged. But you could imagine that there's an Albany in my Bahamas on this New Providence, and I may never gain access to it. Mm-hmm. And then now you telling me
foreigners trying
that
to claim
some foreigners going to be granted it by somebody who spoke about the Bahamas in such disparaging terms that we should consider whether he should be allowed to enter the jurisdiction?
And that's just why it is important for Bahamian to understand what we bowing out and allowing these foreign liquidators, what that does that mean? Mm-hmm. It'll mean that foreign people be able to claim Bahamian land or control Bahamian land, and I have a problem with that.
That may never be returned.
I have a problem with that. This Bahamian land we talk
they
about,
could be selling to their friends or people's wherever
we need to manage. We need to manage.
But I would have thought that they would have went in the House before this situation and enacted that. That was something that should not. Reinstated.
Yeah.
Because that is something that should not have been taken off the table.
Yeah. But any more text there, Aaron, so we can continue the conversation?
Text says, so the pastor must give that measly 50,000 back, which is impossible, but the government shouldn't give back 303 million. Dear texter, I think you said something earlier today. The government, the texter said this is stealing when 30 million goes missing and is being held by the Bahamian government. It can't be missing and being held by the Bahamian
That's
government.
That's an oxymoron there.
Furthermore, the Security Commission of the Bahamas has stated in court documents to our Supreme Court, to the Supreme Court in the U.S. that's handling the U.S. breakdown and the Bahamian one, that they, after becoming aware of anomalies and improper behavior or suspicion of improper behavior, requested that the money be transferred to a cold wallet, a safe space, with the authorization of the Bahamas Supreme Court.
Yes.
I'll say one thing, Ziggy. They better touch not that prophet and do that prophet no harm. If they know what good for them.
They might get a song in. They might get a song written about
You
them.
mean another song?
Another song. Go ahead, Aaron.
And that is it. We are out of text.
Yeah, out of text. So now we can conclude for the last 5 minutes on what we think about FTX. But go ahead. Again, Aaron, my concern is I don't think there's enough information for us Bahamian people to digest, right? I'm not criticizing the government. I'm just demanding of the government that we need to facilitate more information for us to have a Bahamian narrative and a Bahamian conversation. And with the absence of that, with a vacuum of that information, it allows Bahamian to glean their information, glean their narrative from these foreign bloggers who are purposely trying to defame the Bahamas with false information, right? The information that they're providing, the spin that they're providing is anti-Bahamian, one, and it's anti-black, two, and because they are given a narrative of they are being superior, their laws are superior to ours, that such things can only be handled in a Anglo society, that we have no knowledge or concept of morality and education and expertise to facilitate these things. And that narrative is dangerous. And that narrative we need to challenge. And that narrative should be challenged by all Bahamians to say, hey, we went to the same schools y'all went to. In fact, we graduated the head of the class. We used to tutor you, right? And how can you tell me that we can't do this, especially when we've been doing this for decades?
And to understand the greater global context, that while they are directly and acutely disparaging and bashing the Bahamas, the intent of the conversation is to establish themselves as the ultimate regulators of any operation of digital assets across the globe.
That's dangerous.
right? And so they're using us. And we're not telling Bahamians what to think, but we're asking Bahamians to be critical.
Yes.
And that you could have a firm belief that the Bahamas is corrupt, but that you must be critical before applying that as a blanket across the FTX situation. And that you need a global context to understand some of the critique that's being levied by Bahamian actors, media people like ourselves, by other regional Caribbean actors, and by non-global North actors, right? You cannot understand it without the context. Now, we did have 2 texts come in. Ian?
Bring a text.
All right, first text, Ms. Green. Sam should learn a Bahamian terminology and he will be set free. Misappropriation of funds. That's all you have to say?
That's right. That's jail. He confessed that. That's what he
I
did.
misappropriate. Okay, I have contacted Critical Thinker and he offers education. They sent in this text like 2 or 3 times, so I can read it.
You read it.
On many of the digital subjects. People just can't afford the fees he charges for individual classes.
Then do it for free.
We can't expect him to educate the populace for free or for
Why
them
not?
to individually pay him his fees.
Why not? Especially when he's eager to give the information out. Then you record it on YouTube and then say, hey, this is the general free one. And if you want a more in-depth version, you come to me and this is the fee for
Package
more in-depth.
deals.
Yeah, package
Yeah.
deal, man. They do it all over the place.
Right, and I mean, and that's a deep conversation because you're saying that if I can't afford the information, then I can't be a valuable tool in the development of my own.
You can learn anything
nation.
on YouTube now for free.
Definitely.
Yeah, let's go on YouTube.
See, Alan, put them on YouTube so I could bootleg them, please.
Yeah, of course. I could copy all of them and then put in a package on my website and then charge people $5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
And I could just give them credit.
I like that idea very much.
Money to be made, man. Yeah, I just said I
But
just need this content.
Listen, we got a minute left. I
Budget
think
money never done.
most of all, my critique is that is not what the government can do now, right? It's what didn't the government do at the most appropriate time. And for any other initiative, and if we're going to take this seriously before we move forward, they need to establish a national educational platform.
You shouldn't be if there's a need for that.
Right. They need BTVI UB. They need to figure out how to get these private sector actors to offer courses so people can have a general understanding of what's happening.
It was a learning experience.
Right.
Yeah, a teachable moment.
Teachable moment.
And so this FDX thing has proven to be a teachable moment and has given us the opportunity as Bahamians and as the government, and particularly for future of this cryptocurrency and that DARE Act, to expand on it, to go in detail, make sure that, tweak it, like you said, and to make sure that we're ready. I think we're ready, and I think that this is the time, and I believe that the government is duty bound to let us know what all is needed